Maureen's almost there.
There she is. Okay.
Thank you. Does that look like it, Hope? You all ready to go?
We are ready to go and we're live on YouTube.
All right. Thank you, Hope, and welcome everybody. Welcome to the last regular council meeting of 2020, Monday, December 14th. I declare the meeting open, and the first order of business is the approval of the agenda. And late item, there was just the two?
There's just one item, and it's just the request from Birch for a letter of support for their grant application. So I just suggest that if no one has any comments on the letter itself, that it can go in the consent agenda under new business. So that could be item 3.8.
Okay, 3.8, new business. I certainly don't have any problems with it. Does anybody else have any issues with it? Okay, let's throw it in the consent agenda under 3.8. Thank you. And okay, so the council approved the agenda and late items agenda, if applicable, for the December 14th, 2020 regular meeting. I move that.
I'll second.
Thanks, Rob. And all in favor? Aye. All right. How's that, Hope? Did you get them?
That looks great.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to public comments. Hope, what have you got?
We have no one registered on the speakers list tonight for public comments, but you may want to call from
the public. We don't have a lot of public out there. You got anything to say? I saw him. Oh, he disappeared on me. Hi, Jamie. Do you want to talk?
I do. If I have the floor.
You certainly do, Jami Scheffer.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just speaking briefly on behalf of the Hearth and our president, and he would like to express our thanks to the Bowen Island municipality for the very thoughtful and thorough process that has resulted in the final document, which is the MOU, and our anticipation of a positive working relationship moving forward.
Thank you very much, Jamie. It's a pleasure.
Did it sound like I read it?
No, not at all. It's perfect.
I did.
Okay, nice delivery. And Murray, unless you got something to say, we'll move on.
No, for once, I'm very quiet.
Well, that surprises me. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. And does anybody have anything in there that they'd like clarification on, that sort of thing that they have a problem with? Do I see any hands up anywhere?
Looks good, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And okay, so the recommendation is council approve the items as outlined in the December 14th, 2020 consent agenda as amended. And thank you, Michael. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. We're right on down to the delegations. And we have a delegation from Tourism Bowen Island 2020 Visitor Services Report and Fee for Service Request. Jody Lorenz, Administrative Manager of Tourism Bowen Island Association. Now, do I see? Is Jody?
We're ahead of time too.
I told her to join ahead of time.
Okay. Are we on time? Yeah, I think so. We're a little early, eh?
We're a little early. We could go ahead and come back when she's able to join the meeting. Okay,
I think that's a good plan. So we'll go number 5. The business arising from the minutes has been dealt with in the consent agenda. Number 6, bylaws. And 6.1, proposed housekeeping land use bylaw amendments. Daniel Martin, Manager of Planning and Development. Daniel, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor Ander. Let me start my presentation. So I'm presenting tonight bylaw 528 for consideration of first reading, which is a bylaw to make housekeeping amendments to our land use bylaw. So you saw a draft land use bylaw amendment bylaw at the October 13th Committee of the Whole meeting and directed staff to bring it back for consideration of first reading. So I was going to go through my presentation, just some of the high points I touch on in the report. There's a lot in the bylaw, a lot of changes, a lot of sort of tweaks and trying to clarify and make consistent the bylaw. But I just wanted to go through with illustrations, just some of the changes that we're making and trying to illustrate for council but also council have seen this a couple times, but just for members of the public in preparation for open house and some sort of public engagement with the changes. So one of the pieces I talk about in the report is tweaking how we do height calculations for buildings. So something that I say seems straightforward until you see all the different ways that people calculate how tall is a building. So one of the things we want to change is clarify how we measure a shed roof, which is a roof that slopes down from a top point down to one low point. And currently it's unaddressed in our bylaw, and we would like to treat it the same as a pitched roof, where so where 2 points meet in the middle, and we measure to the midpoint from that to the ceiling. And so to do the same for a shed roof seems consistent, but I'll note some places measure instead a shed roof to just to the highest point of a shed roof and say, we just take that straight number. But we think it's more consistent to do this same as a pitched roof. And the next change then for the height calculation is how we calculate where the grade is. So currently we do the calculation that's on the left of your screen, which is we just take for a building the number of points on a building, so the number of corners a building has. We look at the grade at each of the points of that building and we average it out. So for my nice simple square, I would get a grade of 7.5, and we would say that's where the building starts, and we measure up from there. The problem that we encounter with it is, in the example on the right, is that if people tweak their design just slightly in sort of a superficial way, you can end up with a very different grade calculation. So in my example on the right, this building's added a little bit of an entrance porch or something, and the grade calculation suddenly comes in at 15 instead of 7.5. So this building could build 7.5, whatever this is, 7.5 meters higher. The building itself could be that much taller because they've added this little addition to it. So what instead we want to do is have an approach similar to West Vancouver, and the formula is shown there, where you take into consideration the length of each line segment and not just the number of where the corners are. And in this way, the intent would be that it averages, so each of my two examples would end up with the same grade and would be allowed to build in the same height for a building that essentially looks the same. The next change that we're looking at is for lot coverage, which currently measures from the horizontal footprint of all buildings and structures. And what we found is people then sort of trying to exploit cantilevered spaces of their buildings. That's not part of the footprint. The footprint must be where it touches the ground. So we like to change it where we're talking about how much of the lot is covered by the building. And so in my example, you can see going from the footprint to going to what's actually covered by the buildings and structures. And in that too, we would then have a set distance of saying, okay, what eaves are not, you're allowed some sort of roof overhang, and make it clear what that amount is. The next one that we've struggled with at times is our lot line definition. So most of our zones have different setbacks for the front or the rear or the side setbacks. And then we define, so the front lot line being the shortest lot line that's common to a lot and a highway, and the other lines then come in relation to that front lot line. But I'll go through 3 examples that we encounter that people find counterintuitive, and we end up with discussions about them, which is actually their front lot line. So this example happens in like older subdivisions where the subdivision has created road allowances and undeveloped road right-of-ways that have never been built. Maybe they go straight up a cliff, or they go straight somewhere where we haven't built a road, but it's the shortest lot line, and it still is then counted as the front lot line. The second one then is sometimes we'll have a front lot line where it's quite a short line segment. And this is more often in more recent subdivisions where the lots themselves better fit the landscape and the road kind of curves around. The lot line will actually have many lines that are common to the road and the highway. And so whichever one is the shortest becomes the lot line for the front lot line. And then the third example we see sometimes is lots that just don't have a front lot line. So they're landlocked, they're accessed by a shared driveway. And in those cases, all lines end up being considered side lot lines. So in the report, I brought a review of other communities and what their lot lines are. And I couldn't find, we couldn't find any good example that would address all of these. So what we've proposed in the bylaw at this point is one that's used in some of the other Gulf Islands, is saying when there's more than one lot line common to the lot and a highway, it's the shortest of these lines that's greater than 20 meters in length. And that helps address that second example we had where people have lots of lot lines that are common to the highway. It kind of means that you're not penalized for having a little bit of a line segment here or there, but it's a little more makes sense. But this definition still doesn't fully meet all of our challenges we have. All right, and the next change we have, so many of our zones are more like our settlement residential zone. So a main residential zone allows domestic agriculture as a use. And it's defined as the growing or rearing of any agriculture product for the personal use of the occupant of the lot. And it's permitted as a principal use, and we would like to move it to an accessory use. So staff have interpreted this definition as being sort of subservient to there being an occupant of the lot. And so if there's no dwelling on the lot, if there's nobody living there, we say, well, there can't be an occupant, so you can't have domestic agriculture as a use. And so we think moving it to an accessory use is consistent with that, with how the definition is written. The next one looking at is our watercourse definition. So we have a watercourse definition that means any natural or man-made depression with well-defined banks and the bed 2 feet or more below the surrounding land, serving to give direction to a current of water at least 6 months of the year, or having a drainage area of 2 square kilometers or more upstream from the point of consideration, and excludes a constructed ditch. And then a constructed ditch is a constructed depression. And crucially, it's one that is, it does not flow into a watercourse. So the challenge that we have with these two sets of definitions is that the riparian areas protection regulation, which is the provincial regulation for riparian areas, would include a watercourse and would include anything connected by surface flow to a watercourse. So if there's a ditch that is connected by surface flow to a fish-bearing stream, it's captured in the riparian area regulation. And so work with next to that ditch would require a riparian area assessment if it's connected by surface flow. So it's not about, you know, if it's connected for 6 months or not, but it's about if it's connected by surface flow. So we would like to change our watercourse definition to closer match that, where it says it's about if it's connected by surface flow to another watercourse, and that it be a watercourse. And so those were the high points that I'd listed in my report. And I know there's a lot in there, and I'm happy to talk about it in this meeting or offline after the meeting to go through any comments people have to it. But what council or what staff are recommending is council give first reading to the bylaw and to refer it to the Islands Trust, the Advisory Planning Commission, and to a public open house to continue this conversation in this project. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much, Daniel. Yeah, I think we've seen this all before, right?
Yeah, so it's been tweaked since October.
Yeah.
And clarified, but you have seen it, yeah, on 2 occasions before.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. I'm just trying to get my, why do I keep doing that? Trying to get my list up here. Where is it? Oh, it's down here. Okay. Sorry. Here we go. All right. Going to start with Maureen.
Thank you, Mayor Andre. Daniel, the point about shifting domestic agriculture from a primary to an accessory use, are there any properties that will be affected by that change?
It would be affected, I guess, if there was a place where somebody owned the vacant lot next door and were gardening on that lot. I'm not aware of, I'm not aware of that. It's sometimes we get sort of questions about how it would work, and we've told people, well, no, you need a dwelling on the lot for there to be, for it to be a accepted use.
Okay, so we don't know what the impact would be if it were accepted.
Yeah, but I guess I would say, Maureen, too, like I would still view it as like if somebody was using a property for domestic agriculture but wasn't living there, I would still be coming back to saying, well, but you're not an occupant of the lot, and so you're not meeting the definition now, and you'd continue to not meet the definition after moving to an accessory use.
Okay, thank you, Daniel.
Is that clarification, Maureen? I just wondered where you were going with that.
I just was wondering whether it was affecting anybody.
Okay,
I mean, there's quite a lot of interest in promoting local agriculture at this point. And as this works its way through the process, I imagine if anyone is affected, they'll crop up.
guess we'll find out, eh? Yeah,
I think, Maureen, on that too, that was something that staff had discussed when we were looking at what changes could be made to the land use bylaw, was that, is that in fact that definition and that regulation too restricting? So it's restricting people from selling, carrots or selling whatever it may be is currently restricted. And where we came from that is that I think it's too big a change to think through to include in a bylaw like this. But maybe that's something that's a future change that would be recommended, is looking at, well, maybe there's some way would say, well, we regulate and people could have a market garden on their property.
Okay, thank you, Daniel.
Okay, thanks, Maureen and Daniel. And over to David Hawking.
Thank you. Thanks, Gary. And thank you, Daniel, for this. I'm happy to move the motion and move it forward because there's still lots of opportunity to, dig into the details in different committees and so on. But I've just got one question about the deciding which is a front lot line. Like the issue for that, Daniel, is it just simply about setbacks? Is that it? So does the Gulf Island example you have, does it address the issue? It's with curvy roads and also with corner lots. Like, I remember discussing this at the last one, and I think it was in our committee of the whole. It seemed on a corner lot you could have two front lot lines, could you not? So that you've got the same setback on both streets.
That is how some communities do it. And they would say if you're a corner lot, just any lot line common to a lot in a highway is a front lot line. And so they would just make it all front lot line. The challenge becomes then sort of anywhere in the SR2 zone where you've built what was a side lot line now becomes a front lot line, and we've made many more existing non-conforming structures. Right. But maybe that's a solution, but it does have impacts. So
does the solution that you propose, that Gulf Island one, does that, I guess what I'd want to know before I decide, okay, that's the best way to define it, is does it handle the problems or not? And I think maybe that's what you need to do when you bring it forward to the APC, because they'll dig into it for sure. Yeah. So anyway, any clarifications to help figure out the right approach on that would be useful, Daniel. So thanks. I'm happy to move forward on this. That's it.
Okay, thanks, David. And over to Alison Morse.
Thank you, Mary Andrew. On the lot line, front lot line bit, part of our problem has been we've got a whole bunch of unbuilt road allowances. And that's caused a problem where the unbuilt one's been longer than the built one. Is there any way of using wording along the lines of unbuilt road allowances that they won't count as a highway? Because your driveway is going to be on the road that's built, not on the road that isn't built. And it makes sense that everybody thinks of your driveway as your front lot line or anyhow, I'm just throwing that one out. In your change in 3.15, you're making dwelling use in the rural commercial as a primary use and not as an accessory use. And it seems to me if in a rural commercial area, you would want dwelling use to be accessory, not primary.
Yes, Allison. So currently in the rural commercial zone, we allow it as both.
Yeah, but the one you're removing is accessory, and I would think it would make more sense to remove primary.
Yeah, my rationale was that it's currently permitted as a primary or as a principal use, and so I didn't want to remove that. I was just removing the extra use, as it were, that it shouldn't be both a principal and an accessory use.
Yeah.
So is that going to be a problem where you've got a very large commercial development with a small suite on top of one of the buildings?
No, because it would still be just another principal use.
Okay, so it's principal, not primary use. Okay. And I'm not sure what you're trying to do in 3.19 by replacing minimum setback from all lot lines abutting a non-VC zone. Is that to try and fix the problem we had with the development along the edge of the marina, Union Steamship, with the coffee place and his work yard shed and stuff?
Yes, so currently our village commercial zone, so in Snug Cove, has a 0 lot lines. You can build right up to the lot line. But it says then that if you abut a non-village commercial zone,
Yeah.
you then have a minimum setback from all lot lines. So it's like, for example, some of the lots back onto Crippen Park, so they abut a non-village commercial zone. So it makes, and then it says, okay, from then you then have a setback. But it makes a setback from all lot lines. So you'd need a setback from the side yards.
Okay, but this is so, but what you've got in here is minimum setback from all lot lines abutting a non, okay, so it would only apply to the line that's abutting the non-VC zoned lot line.
Yeah.
Okay, now what about a highway?
The zone goes to the center line of the street, so there would be abutting the highway that's got the same zone.
So that would solve that problem. Okay, and then I guess my other was just, in your report, you were talking about removing constructed ditch.
I know, when I realized after we published that that was a mistake, that was an earlier drafting I had, and I hadn't removed that.
So you're leaving constructed ditch in there. Because I'm remembering back when we did bylaw 57, and I guess we put that wording in because we were not wanting everybody on the island to have to get a development permit because there happened to be a ditch in front of their house. And I'm not sure whether the changes you're proposing make more or less everybody on the island having to get a DP because there's a ditch.
So you would need to get a development permit if you have a ditch that's connected by surface flow to a riparian area. And that wouldn't change whether or not, like, we've mapped that or not. That's still what the riparian area regulations say, that we can't.
And a ditch that's connected by, I mean, most ditches here on the island end up running into the ocean or another stream at some point. They don't just disappear underground. Anyhow, I'm throwing that out for thought, because I'm still not totally comfortable with the watercourse one. Okay.
Thank you, Allison. Over to Sue Ellen.
Thank you. Thank you for this. This is, I think it's great to clarify things both for staff, so you can save time, and for confusion, just general confusion, and the time and expense of people wanting to make changes to their property. I'm wondering if you can. I'm on the watercourse one as well, and I see that. I'm wondering why a spring or a wetland, a spring whether or not usually containing water, or a wetland are not included in your definition, and yet they are in the provinces. I'm looking at the bottom of page 6 and the top of page 7.
I think because we would just consider those to be wetlands that have their own setbacks.
So they're protected under other. They're protected.
Yeah.
Under
So our wetlands already have setback requirements, and in essence, I'm trying to take like the piece of the riparian area regulation definition, the watercourse, like A and B.
Great. I'm totally with you about not duplicating. I just wanted to make sure that they were connected, particularly as we go into a climate challenged future where people might be more concerned, both about water availability and infiltration, but also in the rainier winters about what's flowing off, and there might be more concern about runoff. Okay, thank you. That's my questions, and I looked at the domestic agriculture one too, and I'm in support of these changes.
Great, thanks, Sue Ellen. Any further discussion from anybody? Not seeing any hands. In which case, the recommendation is that bylaw number 528, cited as Bowen Island Municipality Land Use Bylaw number 57, 2002, amendment bylaw number 528, 2020, be read a first time, and the council refer bylaw 528 to the Islands Trust, the Advisory Planning Committee, and commission and a public open house. I'll move that.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, I got Sue Ellen there, and further discussion. I don't see anybody. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. And we'll move on to 6.2, which is Council Procedure Bylaw number 529/2020. And that's Hope Dallas, Corporate Office.
Thank you, Miranda. Jody from Tourism Bowen Island has joined us now. So do you want to just pop back up to item 4.1?
I think that's a fabulous idea.
Okay, great. Jody.
Okay, so we're back to delegations. Hi, Jody, and it's 4.1, which is Tourism Bowen Island 2020 Visitor Services Report and Fee for Service Request. Jody Lawrence, Administrative
Hi.
Manager.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Good evening. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was late. I thought it was.
No, we were early. Yeah.
Oh, you were early. Well, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
For a change.
For a change, yeah. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here tonight and to present. I really appreciate your time and attention. Sorry, maybe a little technology. I want to share my screen. I hope this will work. Let's hope that works.
Beautiful.
There we go. Okay, almost there, almost there. I think I need to make this a slideshow. Slideshow. Play from start. Let's see. Does that work? Oh, there we go. Okay. Woo. Okay. Well, once again, thank you very much for your time and consideration. So yes, I'm here tonight. My name is Jody Lorenz. I'm the part-time administrator at Tourism Bowen Island. And I thank you once again for your time and attention. I'm here to present, as I have in the past, our visitor center report, so 2020. Also to begin a dialogue, I believe, about our fee for service agreement. As you may know, Tourism Bowen Island has operated the visitor center for the past 5 years. And a fee for service agreement for the Bowen Island municipality. This year, due to some circumstances, the fee for service agreement wasn't ratified. And so we're hoping to begin a dialogue to look and evaluate the terms that we've been using for the past 5 years, because as I'm sure you can appreciate, things change over 5 years. And in particular to COVID, this really pointed out the need for digital services. I mean, we have been doing that all along, but it even accentuated much more. So just a quick refresh, Tourism Bowen Island was established in 2015. We operate both as a destination marketing and a destination management organization. The two go together. You really shouldn't separate that. And the format of being the destination marketing organization, that's a formula that's used throughout the whole province. So we operate the visitor center, as I said, on a fee for service agreement for the Bowen Island municipality. That agreement has is essentially just covers the brick and mortar operations of the visitor center from the Victoria Long Weekend until Labor Day. However, ever since we started, we have been doing digital visitor services. And as I said, increasingly, people do their planning, they do research before they come to a destination. Our website is now the number1 return for anybody searching Bowen Island. And as for our mission and mandate, our mission is in management, to support and protect our community and support sustainable tourism. And we also facilitate community economic through tourism. So our website covers that. We have our members up here. We have need to know, how to get here, what to do when you're here, ferry, buses, etc. We also receive throughout the whole year emails, telephone inquiries, and so we are constantly doing destination management and visitor services throughout the year. As I mentioned, and as we all know, COVID has been dominant this year, and by all accounts, even though we have a vaccine on the way, it's going to continue to dominate and change how we do things. So normally we open the Visitor Information Center as early as possible in May. This year, however, the lockdown went until June 24th. And so once that lockdown started, we were very much having to update our website, do social media posts, respond to inquiries, reinforcing as much as we could for people to stay home, stay safe, not to come to Bowen Island. When on June 24th, we went into phase 2, the recovery phase, and the BC government was encouraging people to travel around, to get outside, to support local. So we opened the visitor center on the 26th. We had our PPE, so all staff right from the very beginning wore masks. We gave away free masks, and we had hand sanitizer stations. And we also, we work with scripts. The staff are trained to be Bowen Island knowledge experts. And we really need to know everything on island. We need to know where the roads are. We need to know the trails. We need to know where the washrooms are. We need to know and share where can somebody go get a kids menu? Where's the vegan muffins? Where can they get a coffee? So we provide all those services. And this year, on top of what we normally say for scripts and share, whereas we were actually asking visitors to please follow the COVID health and safety protocols. So we were open from June 26th until October 2nd. We were open daily. We had 1 full-time staff member and 2 part-time staff members. We leverage our, we have a service agreement with the Bowen Island municipality, and we always leverage that. And we have been successful the past few years to get a Canada Summer Jobs Grant. This enables us to leverage that, and we can hire more staff. We extend the hours, like our service agreement only usually starts Victoria, Labor Day, and goes Victoria long weekend to Labor Day. We extended it always through September. We open as soon as possible in May. So it's great that we've had that support and able to do that, because our stats over the years have shown increasingly how many people we capture. And like I said, that's with our brick and mortar operations, that is our goal. And we added the visitor center kiosk, as we saw here, which is stationed over by the cenotaph. So we have 1 staff member there on the busy days, primarily the weekend, and we have 1 at the visitor center. And that enables us to capture more people. And when we capture them, we can do the destination management and the destination services and the community economic development. Sorry, I just forgot to say, I should also remind, destination management is a set of policies and practices, best practices that are designed to be proactive, and they are designed to support sustainable tourism and to facilitate community economic development. So there's quite, and like I said, it happens digitally before somebody arrives, it happens on site, and then it also happens when somebody leaves and when they go and talk to their friends and family about coming, for instance, to Bowen Island and what's theirs to do there. Our stats, there was a lot of, part of what we had to do, of course, everybody was quite anxious with COVID this year. So we actually had, conversations with a lot of locals that would come by and share their experience. And we had to reassure the community what we were doing our best to support COVID health and safety. We had a lot of people expressing, oh, they've never seen so many people. And when I asked a local resident how that was, that they thought that, and he lives by Tunstall Bay, and he said he had never seen so many people on the beach. And I said, well, you're probably perhaps right in the sense that we did not have international visitors this year. We did not have many national. We had more visitors from Metro Vancouver, and they were doing what the BC government told them, which was to go outside, to socialize outside. So Bowen being the doable Gulf Island from Vancouver, we probably did see more of those families and more local residents outside visible doing that. But as you can see with our visitor center report statistics, as well as BC Ferry statistics, when you look at the same period, we were open less days than in 2019. So if you look at the same period, you can see that we did have decreases in all of our interactions, which is understandable, like I said, because of the lack of international and national tourists. But you can also see over here the general passengers at BC Ferries, particularly during that lockdown where a lot of Bowen residents would have been working from home. So unfortunately, we don't have the experience breakout numbers. We can't say at this time how many were visitors and how many were residents, but you can just generally see that the capacity was much more reduced, though people's perception was not necessarily that way for various reasons. Now, going on about how digital destination management is really crucial in showing that our website is the #1 response. This is our website analytics for the past year from December 1st, 2019 until November 30th, 22 is the blue line. And in comparison to the same period the previous year is the orange line. So you can see the very marked reduction in use of people when they were told to stay home, and also the reduction, obviously, of not the international people going there. Overall, we had an 8% reduction. You can see that it bounced back when people were then allowed to visit. And also beyond the website, there are, as I'm sure many of you are aware, there's many, as the word becomes more digitized, drawing information. This is just to show you that it continues. Like I said, we provide destination management 365 days per year. This is showing Google Analytics driving people towards the Bowen Island Visitor Center when we're not even open. It's showing the period from September to December. And you can see that there was total views of 34,000, over 34,000 people that Google is driving towards our visitor center when we're not open. Here's a little bit of a funny story that I also want to share because it shows how, even though Tourism Bowen Island, we have not been marketing. Our focus this year due to COVID has been on the management side. We have not been marketing, but visitors are people around the world are going to learn about Bowen Island in many different ways. And this one came to my attention just last week. I was aware that last year or the year before there was filming going on Bowen Island, but to be honest, I didn't know what it was for. I learned by email from Charles in Northern Ireland that they're at home in Northern Ireland watching Virgin River, which was dropped on Netflix on November 27th, the second season. And they reached out, they think it looks beautiful. They wanted to get a calendar. Was it available on Amazon? And so I did a little research to see what the galleries had for sale, and I offered it to them. And it wasn't until that second email that I learned that they were through Virgin River and that they might want to come for a holiday. So I was encouraging them to come and stay on Bowen Island and do day trips out to the Vancouver area. I said a lot of people are doing that if they don't want to stay in the city. And with a little bit more further research, I just want to say Virgin River dropped on Netflix on November 27th. I started to see how many touches or promotions there were for it about where is Virgin River being filmed. I got to 32. I got to Oprah magazine. I got to all sorts of different stories around the globe about where it is and pointing out Snug Cove. And even Tourism Vancouver has now got a tour where you can go through the Vancouver region to visit the places where Virgin River was filmed. The value of tourism has dropped significantly last year because of COVID. Prior to COVID, it was one of the lead employers in BC. The gross domestic product was more than mining and forestry and other, sorry, I don't have that in front of me, but I like this Squamish that in 2018, they had 600,000 visitors. And the estimated direct spend in the community was 95.2 million. We don't have the same kind of stats here, and our visitors are much smaller. But based on what the information that we do have, I did a little estimate based on our 2018 numbers, And I'm estimating, which I feel is conservative, that the visitor spend is between 9 and 14 million of direct spend. But that doesn't include all the people that are employed, for instance, that work in the restaurants, that grow the food, that are the gardeners or the people that clean the vacation rentals. So the gross domestic product is much higher than the direct spend. But also tourism, if it's managed well, if it's done sustainably, has many other positive contributions to a community. It can help preserve natural habitats. Parks will be established so that people can enjoy trails and nature. Tourism, visitors want to come and enjoy the local culture, arts, events. They enjoy doing all the same things we do. There's over 400 Aboriginal tourism businesses in the province that are helping to preserve Indigenous languages and cultures. So tourism has if it's done well and managed well, very good positive, it can do good. It can do good. As we all know, COVID-19 has been a huge impact, as I was saying. We wanted to try to assess a little bit of the local businesses, trying to get some data beyond the anecdotal interactions I was having. So we did a survey. We sent out to 60 different members and businesses. We had 18 respondents, which is a 26% response rate. It would have been nicer to have more, but that's fairly average. So out of the 18 respondents, 10 closed through May and June. So they had a 80 to 100% decrease in revenue. All of the respondents, except for real estate agents, reported a decrease in revenue, and it ranged from up to 80%. All of the respondents said that they access at least one federal or provincial support, and that they describe those support programs as really helpful, extremely important. One person even said it was survival. Moving forward into 2021, of course, the concern continues to be COVID, the uncertainty, what it will mean, solvency for the businesses. They're concerned about winter, which is typically slow, and a lot of people notice that the tourism was reduced this past summer, and they're concerned about if that will continue into the new year.
Yeah, Jody, it's Gary. I just we're very time conscious here, so just think about that, please.
Okay. So the other part that I just wanted to cover is that, and as I said, the fee-for-service agreement has been very limited in the sense that it covered the brick and mortar only, and it only went from May long weekend to Labor Day. We are hoping with this new service agreement that we really want to work with BIM, and we would like to hopefully readjust the terms and the agreement so that it can address and look at the more comprehensive ways in which we provide destination management and destination services through the community. So we're hoping that we'll get that support to begin that dialogue. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council, and all, but we really enjoy working with everybody at the municipality and representing Bowen, and we're all residents. We're very passionate about this beautiful island, and we want to continue doing our best to support it and make tourism sustainable and a good economic driver. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Jody. That was a great presentation. Just any word on the MRDT? Are you going to go back to that, or?
Yes, yes,
that's designed for
yes,
and that sort of thing.
Yeah, the MRDT, it is our intention to go back and to talk to our members. Unfortunately, COVID impacted that ability. We weren't able to talk. It's also significantly impacted the revenue of the people that would be collecting it. So it's something that we have to really approach sensitively. As I'm sure you're aware, people get very nervous about taxes, and so it's going to have to be a gentle conversation. We're going to have to show how it will support the community, the benefits, but it has to be done in a respectful, reasonable manner. Yeah. Yeah, it's on our to-do list.
Okay, understood. Yeah, in the core funding, I was just thinking about that today. And one of our policies on the core funding is that it is normally done by a municipality or a city or whatever. It's service that, and I haven't dug deep enough in it to see whether that would qualify as core funding. But yeah, there's certainly all things we have to look at. And yeah, we definitely have to put a package together and see what it looks like. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Well, thank you very much, Jody.
Once again, I really appreciate your time and attention. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Pleasure.
Everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we're going to move on to back to bylaw 6.2, council procedure bylaw number 529, 2020. Hope Dallas, corporate officer. Over to you.
Mayor Andrew and council, thank you. So I'm just bringing back bylaw 529, which is the council procedure bylaw that I presented at the last council meeting on November 23rd. Council at that time received the draft, and its intention is to replace the existing bylaw, which is currently out of date and doesn't accurately reflect our meeting practice and procedures. So at the last meeting, council directed staff to go ahead with publishing notice, which is required under the community charter. So notice was published in 2 editions of the Undercurrent, and it just described in general terms the proposed changes and invited feedback. And so at the time of writing the report, I received 2 submissions, and to date, I have not received anything further. So the 2 suggestions, one being from a member of the public and one being from a council member, were to more clearly distinguish the difference between a delegation and a public comment, and just further lay out the procedure for public comments. So in that, the delegation section was amended just so that, in addition to that, the timeline for delegations was a bit too prohibitive. Sometimes delegations are requested and they might not meet the 10-day deadline. So it was just amended so that it coincides with the late items agenda, if needed.
Okay.
And then the other comment was just regarding public comments and how those are dealt with. And with other municipalities, there are, in their procedure bylaws, there is more of a description of what it is and how they're dealt with. So I did some creative copywriting and just found what would fit with us. And it's pretty much what we do normally, having the period for public comments set to 15 minutes, and individuals can speak no more than once for a period of longer than 3 minutes. And it's all laid out in the report. So it just basically clearly states on how we deal with public comments. And there was a definition added in the report as well. So other than that, there's been just a few minor typos and formatting changes. I had a lengthy conversation with Councillor Morse this morning, and she had some additional changes. Nothing substantial, mostly just clarifications to a few of the sections. So I'm happy to, at this stage, recommend that the bylaw receive first reading, and at the next council meeting in January, I can bring back the bylaw with a track change version of Councillor Morse's changes, and seek second and third reading at that time if council would like to see those changes.
All right, thank you, Hope. Okay, anybody have any questions of Hope? Allison, are you?
I just wanted to clarify for everybody. One of the questions I had for Hope today, which I was always kind of, it's in several places with introducing motions and moving to into a special council or waiving time things. It talks about all members unanimously agreeing. And I just wanted to stress that Hope clarified for me, it's all members of council, whether they're present or not. So if we only had 6 of us at a meeting, we couldn't do some of these things where it says all members of council agree. So it was just a clarification I wanted to draw to everybody's attention, because we couldn't figure out how to change the wording to make that really clear to everybody.
Yeah, the interpretation in the community charter is all members of council, and we have received a legal opinion in past that all members of council means all
Oh,
members of council, not just those present. Council wouldn't want to disenfranchise one member of council for not being present to proceed with a closed meeting and waiving notice, for example. So
I
that's
think
where
just the difference there is that when there's an allowance for just members present, that's specified.
it's specified. That's right.
All right. Anybody else? Okay.
Councillor Fast.
Thank you. And by the way, it was me who submitted some suggestions. I wonder about the definition of public comment. Page 2 of 16 here, it says.
What's section number, Sue Ellen?
I'm looking at the
It's just the
report,
definition, Councillor Morse.
Okay.
the definition, and it says public comment means addressing council regarding a matter included on the agenda as described under section 22 of this bylaw. I'm wondering, sometimes people come to council to describe something new that's happened or that isn't on council's agenda, particularly that night. Is there a reason that it doesn't just say something that they believe council would benefit or the community would benefit from hearing about or share information or something? Does it have to be for people to make public comment? I'm not sure that we check to make sure that it's on the agenda.
Yeah, I understand that point. That is similar language used in other procedure bylaws that I used as comparisons. I'm happy to change it to make it a little bit more flexible for sure. I have no objection to that.
Yeah, I'll just leave the wording up to you, but thinking about what happens here now, and I want to be inviting the public to participate rather than putting up definitions that limit them, unless there's a good reason. Thank you.
That's a good point, Sue Ellen. But the first thing on our public comments is if you wish to speak to council, we ask you to limit your comments to an item contained in the agenda. So you want to change that?
Yes, because I think we don't enforce that. We don't check, and I also think it's part of public participatory governance is that we invite people to address council and have and be heard. And this seems to me to be more restrictive than what we're doing now, and perhaps more restrictive than would be ideal for a community that we've got a public participation policy. We do outreach. We want people to share their ideas, their concerns with council. I think that makes for better governance, and that's why I'm suggesting it. So thank you, Hope. Otherwise, I'm in support. I'll be voting in favor of this motion.
Yeah, I just wonder if we don't want it to turn into a town hall sort of operation either, which could happen. So
it's only 15 minutes.
Miranda, I have my hand up. Just in response to that, I don't have a problem with if people have ideas or they want to express concerns, but we've only got 15 minutes, and if there was people there that primarily wanted to address an item on the agenda, I think they should get to go first. And if we run out of time, then the others would have to wait for another meeting, because otherwise we could go on for half an hour or 45 minutes.
It's a good idea, but it's very complicated.
Well, no, because I've looked at the one in North Van, and they have to put in the public comments which section of the agenda they're wishing to address.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay.
So if somebody doesn't have a section of the agenda to address, then they would go to the bottom of the list. And
ours is similar to that, Councillor Morris.
Yeah.
We have a topic and agenda item, so that
so
we reference it. Yeah.
So you can sort them out easily. Yeah.
Well, maybe we should change that statement on the public comment section then. So the recommendation, anybody else out there? Oh yeah, so I got
Councillor Morris has her hand, or Councillor Nicholson, sorry.
I just did it, so
okay, thank you. And Maureen?
How about just adding in generally into that definition? Public comment generally means addressing council.
That's a good idea.
Gives you
I
a
like
little
that.
bit of leeway, and it still preserves the emphasis of, really it should be about the agenda, but there's a bit of latitude.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I like that wording. Thank you.
I'll be happy to move the motion.
Yeah, I got it right here, Sue Ellen. So the recommendation is bylaw number 529, 2020. Bowen Island Municipal Council Procedure Bylaw number 529, 2020 be read a first time. I'll move that.
Second.
Okay. And who got the second there? Sorry, I didn't see it. Hope so. Thanks, Allison. And any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Oh,
Aye.
hang on. I'm trying to further discussion.
Yeah, sure.
Do we want to say as amended? We just put that word in there.
Well,
Yeah.
are we,
Sorry, I did add that in there. I thought I heard that, but I put it in there. Thank you for catching that.
Well, okay, it just wasn't in the motion. Oh,
I
you
just
put
thought
it in
we were
your
gonna
motion.
pick
I
that
got it.
up between first
there.
and second.
Thank you.
All right.
So it does say as amended. And
First time as amended.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
As amended. Okay, thank you. And okay, and any further discussion? No, all in favor, I ask question. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you. And we'll move on to staff reports. Bowen Island Fire Department biannual report. Aaron Henning, acting fire chief, and Marissa Bakos, administrative assistant, dated November 19th, 2020. Just before we get going on here, as we all know, acting chief Aaron Henning has become Chief Aaron Henning. Went through a rigorous selection process, and Aaron was selected to lead our fire and what else do they do there? Team on Bowen Island.
Fire department.
Fire department, yeah. Aaron, congratulations, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and over to you.
Okay, thanks, Mayor and Council. I'm just going to share my screen here for this report. Let's see. Okay. All right, can everybody see that okay?
You betcha.
Great. All right. Let's see. Okay, so this report is in response to Council's request to provide a biannual update of the progress of implementing the recommendations contained in the Core Services Review. The fire department has increased staffing this year. A part-time training officer was hired in July. This position was a 0.4 FTE, but was unfilled. The training officer has completed NFPA 1001 Level 2, which is the standard training for career firefighters. He previously worked for BC Ambulance on Bowen Island and was a firefighter in Lions Bay. He has also recently completed an emergency scene management course. The deputy chief's position was also adjusted this year. The deputy chief is responsible for fire inspections of all public buildings. This position was increased from a 0.5 FTE to a temporary full-time position, and a request for permanent increase to full-time was made as part of the 2021 budget process. The deputy chief has also completed the emergency scene management course and is responsible for the Fire Smart program. We also hired an administrative assistant on a temporary basis. The administrative assistant has completed NFPA 1001 Level 2, as well as the emergency scene management course. We've had a lot of excitement around our training this year. Up to mid-November, firefighters have completed nearly 1,800 hours of training. Some of the courses that firefighters completed this year are company inspections, joint health and safety committee fundamentals, live fire, rope rescue, and emergency scene management. The emergency scene management course is a 40-hour course that was completed by myself and 9 firefighters. Our biggest challenge with training this year has been dealing with COVID. The department has changed protocols several times over the year based on recommendations from the BC, the Fire Chiefs Association of BC. Firehall.net is the records management system used by the department. It's used to record training, responses to calls, and to log equipment use where required by law. In May, the department had established a joint health and safety committee. This committee meets monthly and when required due to new COVID updates or provincial health orders. This committee consists of 3 volunteer firefighters as well as myself. All 4 of us have completed the fundamentals of joint health and safety committee training. The deputy chief completed the NFPA 1031 Fire Inspector 1 course, and in conjunction with the District of North Vancouver Fire Inspector, the deputy chief has completed 71 fire inspections. And we're coming ever closer to starting our new fire hall project and expect to break ground early in 2021. The department hosted a fire extinguisher inspection and first aid kit sales day in August. Firefighters and their children participated in the Bowfest parade, and Fire Hall #1 was decorated for Halloween. The deputy chief and myself participated in the Remembrance Day ceremony that was recorded and available online. The emergency program coordinator was successful in applying for and receiving $25,000 in grant funding for FireSmart in 2020. This grant has been extended until September of 2021 due to COVID. The fire department has now taken over management and administration of this program. In 2020, the deputy chief conducted 36 FireSmart home assessments, and the department has applied for $50,000 in grant funding for 2021. If received, some of this funding will be used for updating the community wildfire protection plan. The administrative assistant also worked with BC Wildfire to have areas around the communications towers on Mount Gardner and Radar Hill considered for their 2021-2022 Crown Land Wildfire Reduction Program. The department had responded to 137 calls as of mid-November and from March to September, the provincial health officer directed fire departments to stop responding to all but the most serious level of medical calls. While the number of medical calls has decreased this year, the complexity of the calls has increased, with firefighters having to don extra PPE to attend medical calls, and then after each call, the high touch points on each apparatus are disinfected. There have also been 2 structure fires that have required investigation and a report to the Office of the Fire Commissioner. Fire department staff worked with municipal staff to move the burning permit process online ahead of the October 15th start of burning season. The change in process was motivated by the desire to decrease the number of people entering Municipal Hall. The department formed a committee to determine the specifications of the replacements for Engine 31 and Engine 32. Engine 31 was due for replacement in 2020 and needs to be replaced as soon as possible. The District of North Vancouver brought their wildland trailer to Bowen Island. We can utilize their equipment and personnel by making a request to the Office of the Fire Commissioner. The departments have also been in discussion regarding shared training opportunities potentially in the spring. The department purchased a turnout gear washing machine and dryer to allow turnout gear to be washed at the fire hall, resulting in significant long-term cost savings for the department. The department also purchased a fill station for SCBA cylinders. The fill station means that cylinders will be able to be filled safely and in-house. The department purchased new rope rescue equipment and ordered new rescue airbags to replace existing equipment that was at the end of life. The airbags are used for lifting vehicles or heavy equipment in a rescue. The department also applied for long service awards for firefighters that have completed at least 20 years of service. We have completed the following testing and inspections: pressure testing of all hoses, WorkSafe BC required fit testing for SCBA masks, safety inspections at both fire halls, and WorkSafe BC required hearing tests for all firefighters. And finally, I'd like to thank all the volunteers who have volunteered thousands of hours of their time this year and every year. Without them, none of this would be possible. And that is, that's it. Any questions from anyone? Or?
Thank you, Aaron. It's nice to see that the fire hall is so healthy and all the volunteers are well, and it seems to be working very well. Thank you for that. Questions for Aaron? I've got Maureen.
Yes, thank you, Gary, and thank you very much, Aaron. That was a great overview. It looks like you have been very busy in this year of COVID. I had 2 questions. One was the record management system that you're using, firehall.net. Is that a new system for the Bowen Fire Department, or have you used it in prior years?
It's fairly new. We started it, let's see, I would say very late in 2019. We brought that system online, and then we've been just working with it since then.
Okay, great. And then the 71 fire inspections of public buildings, that number astonishes me. So does that mean all of the shops and the Cove and the library and so forth?
Yeah, that's right. Every public building is required by law to be inspected, and we're trying to get all of those taken care of.
Great. Thank you very much. Those were my questions.
All right. Thank you, Maureen. Over to you, David.
Thanks, Gary, and thanks, Aaron. As Maureen said, that was really comprehensive report, both the verbal and the one in our package. Just a simple and silly question. What was that you went through that so quickly? That North Van trailer? Sorry, what was that, and how can we use that?
Yeah, they came over and demonstrated their wildfire trailer to us and the equipment that they have, and they've said that if we did have a wildfire and we needed that equipment, it's just a simple request through the office of the fire commissioner, and they can bring personnel and equipment over and help us out if required.
And what sort of equipment is there that they would have that we wouldn't have?
Sprinkler units for going on houses, so we could. I can't remember. I think it's about 35 houses or something that they have. Their trailer can protect.
Wow.
So it's pumps and hoses and sprinklers, that type of thing for wildfire.
Great. Okay. Yeah, that was really interesting. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, David. Allison?
Besides the Halloween decorations, I just wanted to say enjoying driving by the seasonal Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
That was good. And I was interested in the comment about Radar Hill.
Yes. Yeah, we haven't heard back yet, but we should hear early spring whether we'd be accepted to have some of the trees and brush cleared around the radio towers on Radar Hill as well as on Mount Gardner.
Because my understanding is the Coast Guard is in the process of doing some clearing on Radar Hill.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm not exactly familiar with what their plans are there, so I can't comment.
So maybe Daniel can put Marissa in touch with the people that they're dealing with there.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Allison. Rob?
Yeah, thanks for the report, Aaron. It was well done. Just looking ahead at future recruitment of volunteers, knowing that a lot of the calls are medical calls and there's also, administrative support that's needed. Are you looking towards getting maybe some volunteers with, let's say, some nurses on in the fire department that specialize in the medical calls, or potentially even somebody, let's say a retired administrative assistant that may want to volunteer some of their time to help with some of the admin duties in the fire department?
I hadn't looked at volunteer admin duties, but we are looking at potential models where people would volunteer, say not only to be a firefighter, but maybe somebody would volunteer that just wants to be working on the medical side of things. And so they wouldn't necessarily be a firefighter, but they would just be responding to medical calls.
Okay.
So we are looking at that.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, is that about it? Anybody else? Okay, I don't see anybody. So the recommendation is that council receive the Bowen Island Fire Department biannual report presented at its December 14th, 2020 regular council meeting for information. I'll move that.
Second.
Thanks. I got you, Michael. And all in favor? Aye. Thank you again, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, we're going to move on to 7.2, which is the SARS-CoV-2 diagnostic screening on Bowen Island. Jennifer McGowan, Emergency Program Coordinator. Jennifer. Hi. Go ahead.
Hey there. Thank you for having me. Long story short, I've been working for the past month since council directed staff to work with Dr. Schlegel to establish what supports are required to establish on-island COVID testing. So since that time, we have engaged a lot of additional stakeholders. This is a multifaceted issue, and there does actually seem to be progress. I appreciate that it's taken a long time, and that is unfortunate, but there was a directive in mid-November that the community paramedics would be able to do swabbing moving forward. So that has potentially increased the chances that we can offer some sort of testing here on the island. So Dr. Schlegel and I are looking at sort of an interim solution that would see her offering a limited amount of testing in the short term, and then continuing to work with Vancouver Coastal Health and BC Emergency Health Services to try and get something potentially more permanent or long-term or sustainable is perhaps the word I'm looking for, happening in the longer run. So those conversations are still ongoing. I have reason to be hopeful of late, but there are legal issues that BC Emergency Health Services and Vancouver Coastal Health are now trying to work out. And there will still potentially be the issue of, you know, an entity to run the site. But again, in that department, I'm making more progress as well. So work continues.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Well done. I know it's a little bit frustrating going down that road. Liam and I were on a call to Victoria with Josie Osborne, the new Minister of Housing over there, and she wanted to see about local government and COVID and this sort of thing. And so we brought up the topic of on-island testing, and the doctor, Liam, who was that was with Josie? Do you remember?
It was the deputy provincial health officer. And
okay.
Dr. Brown?
That's right.
Oh, it was Dr. Brown. Okay, good. Thanks, Allison. Yeah, but he mentioned in a question that came, and I don't know if you stayed online, but a question came about 4 people later, and he mentioned that they're looking into the shorter testing. I don't know if it's the oral one or whatever it is. So they're sort of looking at that. So I would imagine for Bowen Island, and so I imagine they'll get back to us on that at some point in time. I don't know if it's useful or not. What would be your comments on that, Jennifer?
Yeah, I mean, any solution. We're trying to look at every possible angle, whether it's access to some of the testing that's available in more remote communities, or yeah, whatever we can get our hands on. Any way we could make this happen. We've had a huge variety of stakeholders, you know, offering support and offering to do the testing and that sort of thing. So it's trying to connect all the pieces together.
Yeah. Yeah, we should be able to make something work. We're going to be at this for a little while longer, I'm afraid. Maureen?
Thank you, Gary. I just wanted to express my appreciation, Jennifer, for your good spirit and your stamina and trying to move
Stamina, yes, right.
Thank you.
No problem.
And all right, anybody else? Sorry, go ahead, Liam.
Just a quick correction for the record. It was Dr. Brian Emerson.
Okay, that sounds better.
The acting deputy provincial health officer.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, anything else for Jen while she's here? All right, so the recommendation is that council receive the SARS-CoV-2 diagnostic screening on Bowen Island report presented at its December 14, 2020 regular council meeting for information. I move that.
Second.
Thank you, Sue Ellen. I got, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all. And thank you, Jennifer, for that. Good work.
Thank you, Jennifer.
And we're going to move on to 7.3, Bowen Island Municipality, Bowen Island Arts Council, the Hearth Community Center Project Memorandum of Understanding. Jillian Drake, Manager of Rec and Community Services. Jillian?
Thank you, Mayor Ander. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'm pleased to bring forward the amended Memorandum of Understanding between the Bowen Island Municipality and the Hearth in regard to the Community Center project. So in May 2018, the municipality and the Bowen Island Arts Council, as the Hearth was formerly called, entered into an MOU for the development, management, and operations of the community center. Under that agreement, we have successfully collaborated on the building design, community engagement, and fundraising initiatives to move the project forward. Now that the project is moving from the conceptual to the implementation phase, and we have secured the necessary funding to advance the project, it was recognized that it was time to update the MOU. This new MOU further builds on the strong relationship between the municipality and the Hearth while adding clarity for the management and use of the new community center. Through earnest and comprehensive dialogue and negotiations, the Community Center Select Steering Committee arrived at consensus on the new Memorandum of Understanding and are now seeking Council's approval to enter into this agreement.
All right. Thank you, Jillian. Questions? I think we've probably beat this up pretty good.
Well, 3 of us have.
Yeah. So I don't see anybody's hand up for this. I will read the recommendation. The council authorize staff to execute the project memorandum of understanding between Bowen Island Municipality and the Bowen Island Arts Council for the development, management, and use of the Bowen Island Community Center as included in the staff report from the Manager of Recreation and Community Services dated December 3rd, 2020. All right, I'll move that.
I'll second that.
Thank you, David. And any further discussion? Stu Ellen.
Yes, thank you. I just wondered for clarification years from now, whether this should include the word hearth in it somewhere, this motion.
Do you want to put it
We're
in as
looking for it in past motions, you know?
that? It hasn't been changed legally, so I think maybe in a recommendation. I don't know. I'm easy.
We can include in brackets the hearth
Yeah.
after Bowen Island Arts Council.
Bowen Island Arts Council.
As somebody who goes into and uses the search function through the past things, I just want to make sure somebody 20 years from now could find it if they wanted to for some reason. Thank you.
Okay, I'm agreeable to that / the hearth, Bowen Island Arts Council / the hearth. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, any further discussion? Ask a question, all in favor? Aye.
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 All right.
Yay!
Yay! Okay, thank you very much, Jami. And okay, move on to correspondence. We have none. Reports to committees, Chow, and commissions were handled under the consent agenda. So we'll move on to new business. 10.1, David Hawking, Metro Vancouver Director. Update to council, please.
Thank you, Gary. The council meeting, much of the meeting was on the work on Metro Vancouver 2040, the regional growth strategy, updating it to 2050. But one of the elements of that was the regional greenways plan for 2050. And Maureen had seen this, it went through the Parks Committee, but this is the greenways plan that has our multi-use path on it. And so it's passed, and that will be presumably now then in Metro Vancouver 2050 as part of the greenways for the region. So I think that's all that was that needs to be reported on. Thanks, Gary.
Well, that's very excellent. Thank you, David. And Trust Municipal Trustees, Fast and Kale. Update to council on Island Trust business. Who's Sue Ellen, Michael?
You're muted, Michael.
Sue Ellen, do you want to go first?
There you go.
I was going to offer you the chance to go first for a change.
All right, I will. Okay, this evening, actually, I do have a little bit of what I think is significant to add, and I'd like to take council back to September the 14th council meeting of this year, when we said that there was a group of island trustees that were contemplating an independent review of the island's trust, governance and management. And since that date in September, the group of trustees has indeed been working with the objective of putting a motion forward at the recently held trustees meeting. And that trustees meeting took place on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of December. Now, the group of 9 trustees working on that motion to be put forward on the 3rd of September, which was actually the last day of the meeting, were representation from North and South Pender, Saturna, Gabriola, Denman Island, and Bowen Island. And I think it's significant, and I will read it out. It was a short motion, and this is what was put in front of Trust Council on the 3rd of December this year. That Trust Council approve the entering into a contract with a management consultant firm certified by the Canadian Association of Management Consultants to undertake a comprehensive performance review of the Islands Trust governance, management, and operations in accordance with the terms of reference attached as Appendix 1 to this request for decision, using reserve funds from fiscal 2021 to a maximum of $75,000. The work will be overseen by an ad hoc steering committee of Trust Council, identified in the terms of reference document attached in Appendix 1. Now, I have that, and if anyone is interested, I could circulate that that terms of reference document. Now, we put this meeting forward on the last day of our meeting, the morning of the 3rd of December. And of the full amount of trustees, all 26, were available to vote, obviously by Zoom. Everyone was present. And I think it is fair to say that the early morning provided an hour of fairly vigorous conversation. And when put to the vote, the trustees' motion was in fact carried. It was successful. It resulted in 14 votes for the motion and 12 against. And in speaking to those other 8 or 9 trustees I've been working with, they felt it was a very significant moment, actually, in the history of the trust, and certainly one that will stay in the memory of all of them. I'm going to be representing Bowen Island on the ad hoc steering group as set up within the terms of reference. Now, whatever views anyone might hold, this is a public meeting, we're on the trust. The organization, with its beginnings in the 70s, in the view of the group, can only benefit from such a review. And it was felt that such a review would be most timely, most beneficial, and probably most significantly, it was actually endorsed by a majority of Trust Council. So obviously we'll be reporting back on this. It's hoped our first more formal meetings of the ad hoc group will be very early in the new year. And that in a nutshell is what I regard as is a significant part of the activities this month for Trust Council, for the Islands Trust, and something that I personally have been working on since the beginning of September with the group I referred to. And as I said, if anybody would like to look at the terms of reference, I would be more than happy to circulate them. They were a matter of record on the meeting. So thank you very much. Thank you, Gary.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. Does anybody have any questions to Michael on that? All right. Sue Ellen?
Sure, just a few more things from that meeting. Besides the external review that Michael has just referenced, of which there have been several over the past years of the Islands Trust as well. I just wanted to report for council that currently the budget, through the budget process at the Islands Trust, the Bowen contribution is down 3.5% right now. And we're also reviewing the policy statement, which is sort of like an OCP review for the whole Islands Trust area, or it's as if it was the Metro Vancouver regional growth strategy, sort of that kind of level of review. And we're reviewing and updating the planning function. So it's a bit of a reorganization in that more official community plans will get reviewed more often. Because the complexity of planning has changed and the development pressure goes on. So, and now, of course, planning staff have the ability to be more mobile. So with COVID too, we're looking at different ways of working to reduce the travel required of staff and that kind of thing. Anyway, those things are underway. And I wanted to refer you to 12.7, 12.8, and 12.9 in your agenda, which are the agenda of the meeting that that Michael is referring to, the Islands Trust Chair's letter about the coastal BC strategy. This is most countries and states in the United States and things have some kind of coastal strategy to align all the planning and the goals, and the even the Maritimes has some kind of coastal strategy. So you can read about that in 12.7 if you like, because BC does not have this, and we're interested in working with the province on that. And 12.9 is a forest outreach. That's the conservation 2-pager I showed you, I think, in last meeting. And I just want to let you know, there'll be more coming in January from the Islands Trust about what I want to bring forward, some of our strategic planning projects that we're involved in, so that if we want to, we could align with those and collaborate, perhaps maybe save some money or not duplicate each other's efforts, or maybe there's something useful there for us. So I'll share some of that next meeting. And also I'm hoping that Claire Frater can join us to talk a little bit about the Trust Area Services report from this meeting, because that's what Bowen mostly pays into. And so she can tell us what, she can run us through that, or I will. That's not settled yet. We'll see how the schedules work, but that will be on the agenda next meeting. And any details or anything you want, information, let me know. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Sue Ellen. So we'll move on to 10.3, which is Councillor Nicholson, Maria, the update to Council on Metro Vancouver Regional Parks Committee. Now, I saw your hand up there too, Maureen. I don't.
Yeah, I actually had a question for Michael or Sue Ellen, and it's related to the motion that was just passed. And I read over the terms of reference, and one of the points that's made in the terms of reference, this is on page 4 of the report, is, and I'll quote, "Further, the operations of Bowen Island Municipality are not proposed to be a subject of this review. The review will concentrate on the activities of the Trust that pertain to Bowen Island Municipality, which are currently organized internally under Trust Area Services." So the scope of work has been set out explicitly to exclude Bowen from the larger review. I wonder if you could elaborate on what this means for Bowen Island.
I think,
Michael, you can start your turn.
I think if I may, I think it was recognizing that the municipality is the municipality and the trust is the trust. And this is an internal review specifically of the Islands Trust operations, its governance, and it is certainly not a review of, okay, it is management, governance, and a performance review, and not a comprehensive performance review of Bowen Island's governance, management, and operations. So it's specific in terms of that to Islands Trust, as opposed, it does not take the same approach to Bowen Municipality's total separate entity in that regard.
Okay, thank you. Michael, do you want to add anything to that, Sue Ellen?
Yes, I would add that the terms of reference also limits, and I guess I should say it narrows the scope so that it doesn't also review the Islands Trust Conservancy is excluded as well.
Correct.
Okay, that's good. David, you had a comment?
Yes, please. I wasn't able to find the terms of reference. So Michael, if you could send them to me, please.
With pleasure, David. Yeah. And to anyone else who wants it.
Thank you.
And I would appreciate sort of going forward if we could be kept updated on the progress. And I mean, I'm assuming that there will be some outcomes for Bowen Island as a result of this review. And I won't speculate about what those might be, but as much as possible, if we could be kept apprised.
No, I would undertake as part of the steering group to do that. And I say the intention is this is specific to Islands Trust in terms of its governance, management, and operations, and it's pretty well designed to make sure that it doesn't tread on other areas of jurisdiction of which there is no wish to, or in no right at all to get involved. So it is meant to be as specific as possible to Islands Trust in those 3 regards. And I'll absolutely keep people appraised and circulate the terms of reference.
Thank you.
How big is the steering group?
I think I've got to look at that. I'd have to look at I'll send you the terms of reference because
I've got them. I just had...
it names the individual.
No, it's how many? Like 5 or 6?
10.
Ken.
Oh, a bit unwieldy. Okay.
Well, it's for representation, and it's actually the individuals or the positions are named on the terms of reference I'll send.
Okay. I didn't count them up. Thank
It
you.
includes one member of the executive committee.
It's okay, Sue Ellen. I just wanted to know how many.
If that discussion is over, Maureen, let's carry on with Metro Parks. Thank you.
We haven't met, so I don't have anything to report.
Okay, thank you. And Morse.
Okay. So starting off, we met in, I guess it was December the 3rd. The first order of business was the election of the chair and vice chair for the upcoming year. And pleased to say that Jonathan Cote was reelected as chair and Jack Froese was reelected as vice chair. And so that was good. And then Kevin Desmond in his TransLink CEO report talked about SOAP, which is their safety operating action plan. I just sort of had to, so we're nice and clean and squeaky talking about SOAP. And just all the different safety and COVID protections and things that they put in to deal with COVID. And he also gave us a very brief summary on the technical hacking, the issue with the hacker, and and stressed several times that it hasn't been an issue of safety concern of the operating of the system itself. It's more in the background, into the internal non-operational software. And the other thing was the announcement by the province. We all knew we were going to get Safe Start funding, but it was just an announcement. It's now been committed to an agreement, so we really are getting it. So $600 million will for 2020 and 2021 calendar operations, and $44 million to limit fare increases in the future. BC Ferries also got 280 million, some of which was for operations and some of it was to keep fares down, and some was to add some discretionary sailings. And BC Transit, of course, got the other piece. So that was good. And then the announcement from the federal government I guess it was Friday. There's a lot in there about climate action, of ongoing funding, mentioning transit and how important it is, and climate related actions, the extra money for buying electric EVs and so forth. So that was sort of good news because everybody had been asking for permanent funding for transit, and it sounds like that's going to happen in the next federal budget. I think that's it.
All right.
We had a workshop on Transit 2050 last week as well, so it's been a busy week. Looking forward to a quiet week or two starting tomorrow.
Not bad. Thank you, Alison. And so number 11 is items removed from the consent agenda. We did not have any question period. Any questions that are coming out of the public realm there? All right. Well, just before I adjourn the regular session here, just in closing, as this is the last regular council meeting in 2020, I would like to take the time to thank all of council for their outstanding performance during what has been an extremely challenging year. Not only in this awkward council environment, but also dealing with personal issues and sacrifices brought on by the pandemic. You've all persevered, and with the help of our always reliable staff, we have managed to have a very productive year and have accomplished a myriad of far-ranging objectives that have been brought before us to better serve our Bowen community. To all the managers and staff in the Bowen municipal family, thank you for your constant dedication and ability to function under a very stressful time in this world of masks and plexiglass, supply chain issues, finding new ways to communicate, and dealing with constantly juggled work scenarios, and dealing with your family issues and complications. The municipality is operating efficiently and effectively in its mandate to keep our island communities safe and healthy as we struggle through this unfortunate time in our history. I would like to thank the community at large for the effort of each and every one of our fellow Bowen Islanders for their continued will to work together and safeguard our very precious population by following the provincial protocols for health and safety and helping those in need. We're not out of the woods yet, but there is just a little glimmer of hope out there and a little light on the horizon, and certainly well worth the continued effort to hang in there. It's going to be a while yet. It makes me very proud to be your mayor. So to all, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, or however you choose to celebrate these holidays. Enjoy a well-deserved break, and above all, be safe, be healthy, and see you in the new year. If any councillors or managers, anybody in staff there would like to pass along a good wishes, please do. And I'll just take it on the screen. Anybody have anything there that they'd like to say to the public before we sign off?
Gary, I want to thank you for that message, Gary. Yeah, it has been a tough year. I think it's a pretty great place to be in tough times like this. And I really appreciate the work of staff, keeping things going really well. And I want to thank all councillors for their work too. And, really thanks to all, and yeah, Merry Christmas.
Thank you, David. Anybody else?
I just want to say thank you to the staff. I think we should all give them a big round of applause. And tough year. Happy holidays.
Merry
Happy
Christmas.
holidays to everybody. Liam?
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Liam, have you got anything there?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor. I really appreciate those kind words, and to the other councillors as well. And just I want to echo your sentiments too. It's been a very tough year, but I've been nothing but impressed with the team here and with Bowen Islanders in general. And I think, like you said, that we're not through it yet, but I think we've done a great job so far, and we'll keep up the hard work and we'll get there. And I hope everybody gets a well-deserved break. So thanks to everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Liam.
Liam.
Okay, is that about it? Anybody else? Jillian? Raj, got your hand up.
Oh, I just like to wish all of council a Merry Christmas as well. And I really appreciate, and I know the rest of staff does as well, that you in the way that you support staff as well. So I think we have a good working relationship between both council and staff. And I thank you all for that.
Well, I agree. Takes two to tango. Thank you.
Thanks, Raj.
That's if that's it. Anybody else? Okay, then we'll adjourn this meeting, and we've got to go back and reconvene the closed meeting. So, Hope, do you want us to switch over, or are you just gonna switch it?
I'm just kidding.